President Buhari suspends head of service Winifred Yorta. Dabiri-Erewa takes over. State governors partner with Transmission Company of Nigeria to improve power supply across the country. U.S. President Donald Trump warned against nuclear deal with the Saudis. And in sports, International Associations of Athletics Federation paid 2.6 billion naira as prize money for 2019 World Athletics Championships.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. President Muhammadu Buhari has suspended Winifred Yorta, head of the Civil Service of the Federation, over allegations of bribery and has approved the appointment of Dr. Folashade Yemieson to act in that position with immediate effect. Yorta has been under investigation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission over alleged 3 billion naira bribery and falsification of duty toll allowances. The president's decision was conveyed in a statement on Wednesday by the Director of Information in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi. The statement says Yorta had been directed to proceed on an indefinite leave to allow conclusion of the investigation. The new acting head of service, Yemieson, is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. The Nigeria Governors Forum has promised to partner with the Transmission Company of Nigeria to improve power supply across the country. The chairman of the forum and Governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, announced that TCN had made a presentation to the governors at a meeting. The presentation is said to have highlighted issues around inadequate transmission. Fayemi said TCN had sought the governor's commitment to improving power in their country. The NGF chairman spoke on the federal government's resolution to recover more than 600 billion naira loan facility from 35 states. He hinted the governors are ready to pay but called for a reconciliation of accounts. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola has lamented continued poor funding and exploitation by some communities as reasons for delay in completion of major infrastructure projects. Fashola says some communities also make ridiculous compensation demands for roads that pass through their localities, further causing problems for such projects. Fashola says compensation payments for the second Niger bridge in Anambra State is 10 billion naira. The Lagos State government has given each of the 350 Nigerians evacuated from South Africa 20,000 naira each. Senior Special Assistant to the Lagos State Governor on Diaspora Matters, German Sanwo-Olu, says the money was a palliative measure for the returnees. Sanwo-Olu said the returnees from Lagos State would be transferred to the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, where they would be trained on skills acquisition. Chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Dabiri-Erewa, says the returnees would be profiled according to their states and local governments of origin to complement the federal government's effort in reintegrating them. And two directors of the Process and Industrial Development Limited, an Irish engineering company, have been convicted of economic sabotage and money laundering by an Abuja Federal High Court. The court has ordered them to wind up the company and its Nigeria affiliate, P&ID Nigeria Limited, for charges of fraud and tax evasion. This is in respect of the contracts that led to the recent controversial judgment of a British court empowering the firm to seize almost $10 billion worth of Nigerian assets. Justice Inyang Eko also ordered the forfeiture of the assets and properties of the two firms to the Nigerian government. With this conviction, the federal government may now ask the appeal court in the UK to set aside the $9.5 billion judgment against Nigeria in the botched gas processing agreements. The two had pleaded guilty to the charges leveled against them by the federal government. Mohammed Kuchazi, commercial director of the company, British Virgin Islands, and Adamu Usman, a director of the firm in Nigeria, pleaded guilty on Thursday to 11 counts of economic sabotage and money laundering. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has warned Nigeria against entry into billions of dollars in what he called illegal agreements with foreign countries. The senior lawyer addressed reporters in Abuja on the decision of Western Sahara to challenge the illegal importation of tons of phosphate and other natural resources from their country into Nigeria via Morocco. Falan advised the Nigerian government to be careful of agreements and treaties it signs with Morocco, as such would violate the rights of the Sahrawi people. The lawyer warned parties entering into such agreements to immediately cancel them and respect the human rights of the people of Western Sahara to enjoy their natural resources, as recognized by Article 20 and 21 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights.
Coming up, African news. Striking Zimbabwe doctors complain of receiving death threats. And later, international news. 2 U.S. senators warn President Trump against reaching nuclear deal with the Saudis.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Striking Zimbabwean doctors say they have been receiving death threats and suspected state security agents of pressurizing them after police blocked their second protest march over the disappearance of Peter Magumbeyi, one of the organizers of an ongoing strike to demand higher wages for state doctors. Riot police blocked more than 200 doctors on Wednesday as they marched to Parliament to present their petition. The union leader, also president of the Zimbabwe Hospital Doctors Association, went missing on Saturday night. The union represents junior and middle-level doctors at public hospitals. In their petition to Parliament, the doctors allege health professionals were being threatened by security elements. They say both nurses and doctors are regularly threatened that resisting government offers will result in their death. The government said on Wednesday it has deployed military doctors to state hospitals as a temporary measure. Mozambique's general election is set for just under a month from now, but Amnesty International says campaigning has been marred by violence against civil society activists, journalists, and human rights advocates. AI also says more than 200 persons have been killed by a local extreme group known as Al-Shabaab in the Cabo Delgado province. They have also forced thousands of others to flee their homes since October 2017. President and Frelimo presidential candidate Felipe Yuse has been campaigning since Saturday in his homeland, Cabo Delgado. In his speeches and rallies at 7 districts, he has promised to end insurgent attacks. The Safer Africa Conference on Road Safety is underway in Tunis, focusing on results and future perspectives for road safety in Africa. Prominent international institutions, representatives from African regional and national bodies, policymakers, researchers, and civil society organizations are dialoguing for a better road safety management throughout the continent. Adnan Chawochi is there.
Tunisian authorities say the international event shed light on the challenges facing Africa in terms of effectiveness of road safety measures and management.
Safer Africa Conference gathers all decision makers and international experts. Africa is registering the highest rates of traffic deaths and the highest proportion of pedestrian and cyclist mortalities. This should never be tolerated.
Experts say the initiative is a Horizon 2020 research project with the aim of creating the African-European dialogue platform on road safety.
The Safer Africa program gathers academic, scientific and political specialists in the field of road safety. It's a platform which to put in place tools for the development and improvement of road safety within a European-African debate framework.
Africa is lagging behind in the world in terms of road safety. We are working together to reduce the number of victims and casualties.
Safer Africa relies on a consortium of 17 partners from both Europe and Africa. It is working with more than 200 African stakeholders coming from 41 African countries.
Learning good practices from European and other African partners and improving our expertise will improve road safety in our different countries.
A platform was created by Safer Africa for users, government and stakeholders. This project has reached the end and we are creating a new deal for Africa.
Safer Africa project is supported by an advisory board, a non-executive body composed by prominent international experts in charge of guaranteeing a high level of quality of the project results. As observed in many African countries, rapid economic growth is translating into increased motorization. Experts say emerging economies in Africa are experiencing big increases in traffic, for which the traffic system.
Ethiopian Airlines has reported a profit of $233 million for the 2017-2018 financial year. The carrier has overcome rising fuel costs, a slowdown of the global economy, and the impact of the recent crash. It has recorded a 13% increase in the number of passengers. Reporter Girum Chala is in Addis Ababa for us.
Against all odds, Ethiopian Airlines continues to profit. This 17 and 14% growth for operating and passenger numbers respectively is keeping it still at the top of the business in Africa. It's even coping up well with the global phenomenon of grounding the MAX 8 planes.
Around 380 airplanes are grounded all over the world, and comparatively we have fewer number. With us only 4. We used to have 5, so we lost 1, so 4 of them have been grounded since then. We knew that from the complexity of the problem at that time, because we had all the data, that it will not be easy to return them on the air, so we have made our own preparations.
Though Ethiopian flag carrier is doing so well, the crash in March which killed 157 people, and especially the grounding of these 4 Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes is negatively impacting the airliner.
We have 4 airplanes sitting, not flying, and therefore they are not generating any revenue. On the other hand, we are paying interest because we bought these airplanes. So it's a loan capital, so we have to service the loan. So interest is still going on. So it is a big problem for us and for the other carriers.
So what is next for these planes, and even the process of returning these planes back on air or not?
We will know in the coming couple of months what will happen to the airplane, and we will review the modifications, and we will ascertain and ensure that the problems are fully addressed according to our expectations, and then we may decide to return them back to air and continue with the order, because we, as you may know, we have more than 30 airplanes on order.
Ethiopian Airlines is opening new routes almost every week. To China, for instance, it will not only increase repetitions of its flights, but also start flying to new and different Chinese cities soon. Also, the airline is currently implementing a 15-year strategic plan called Vision 2025. That has resulted in it becoming the leading aviation.
When we return, international news. 2 U.S. senators warn President Trump against reaching nuclear deal with the Saudis. And later, sports. 2.6 billion naira as prize money for 2019 World Athletics Championships.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to international stories. 2 U.S. senators have warned the Trump administration not to breach a nuclear cooperation deal with Saudi Arabia. They say such a deal could lead to a nuclear arms race in the volatile Middle East. Democratic Senators Ed Markey and Jeff Merkley said in a letter to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Energy Secretary Rick Perry said sharing nuclear technology with Saudi Arabia, especially without adequate safeguards, will give Riyadh the tools it needs to turn the Crown Prince's nuclear weapons vision into reality. Both lawmakers and members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee say making such a deal with the Saudis will fail to promote U.S. leverage or influence. They said if the Trump administration fails to consider Saudi Arabia's behavior within and outside its borders, but goes ahead to conclude an agreement with the kingdom, it would be rejected by the Congress. They said such an agreement could fast-track Saudi Arabia's potential pursuit of a nuclear weapon. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had said his country would seek nuclear weapons if Iran developed a bomb. The U.S.-China trade war continues with tariffs and counter-tariffs. When the Trump administration started the trade war with China more than a year ago, it targeted largely industrial imports. But now, consumers may be about to feel the pinch with women disproportionately impacted. Reporter Karina Uber has more.
Until recently, U.S. consumers were largely shielded from a direct hit in the U.S.-China trade war. But as of September 1st, clothing and shoes, among other items, face an additional 15% tariff when imported from China. Prices for those goods could rise, and female shoppers will likely feel the pain the most. That's because women tend to consume more clothing than men, and more of what they buy is made in China. According to an analysis by the Wall Street Journal, in 2018, 42% of girls' and women's shoes and clothing was imported from China. For men and boys, it was only 26%. Fashion experts say China's manufacturing infrastructure and know-how makes it an ideal place to make women's apparel that needs to be delivered quickly and is often more detailed than men's.
You would go to, for example, Pakistan or Mexico to make a very simple pair of men's jeans or t-shirt. If you want to make something more elaborate with more make in it, and a women's garment, you would probably go to China.
JCPenney said in a U.S. filing that 13 out of the 19 items in its stores the most impacted by tariffs are for women and girls. It warned that tariffs would have a significant impact on its customers. Female consumers in New York had mixed reactions to the prospect of price hikes due to the tariffs.
I really don't mind, even though I wouldn't like to pay more, but it's understandable when it's something like that.
Basically, if people start shopping in the closet more often, then the prices should not affect us as much as we think it will.
I will still buy it. The prices went up. Yeah, because they're not going to be cheaper anywhere else, so you're going to have to buy something. Everybody loves to shop.
Dufty says some consumers may be able to shrug off higher prices, but others won't.
That 15% is significant. It's going to take the price point of a pair of jeans at Target, let's say they're $29.95. It's going to take them over the tipping point of being over the $30 mark, which can be, really have a resounding effect on a consumer. They can see that as, that's beyond my pocketbook right now.
Dufty said that could cause a slowdown in sales at larger U.S. retailers with ripple effects on the broader economy.
South Korea has followed through with a pledge to remove Japan from a preferred list of nations that enjoy fast-track trade status. This is the latest chapter in an escalating diplomatic dispute tied to Japan's 20th century occupation of the Korean Peninsula. Tokyo's removal from a so-called whitelist of nations enjoying minimal trade restrictions means South Korean companies would have to wait as many as 15 days to win approval to export sensitive materials to Japan. It was 5 days under the fast-track status. Wednesday's action comes just weeks after Tokyo removed South Korea from its whitelist of trusted trade partners. The decision restricts exports of high-tech materials to South Korea that are used to produce semiconductors and displays in smartphones and other electronics that serve as the backbone of South Korea's export-driven economy. Seoul has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization over a separate move by Japan to tighten export controls on those materials. Fireworks were scheduled for October the 1st in Hong Kong to mark China's National Day, but the annual event has been cancelled as pro-democracy protests have not ceased. The city has issued a statement that says the show has been cancelled because of the ongoing protest and concern for public safety. Major protests are expected on October the 1st, the day that would mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party-governed People's Republic of China. Hong Kong has experienced often violent demonstrations all summer as many residents fear the Chinese government is eroding the rights and freedoms the semi-autonomous territory is supposed to have under a one country, two systems framework. Public broadcaster RTHK reported the protest also led the Hong Kong Jockey Club to cancel horse racing on Wednesday night. Some protesters have suggested targeting the club because a horse owned by controversial pro-Beijing lawmaker Junins Ho was due to run.
Up next, sports. 2.6 billion naira is prize money for 2019 World Athletics Championships. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, the International Associations of Athletics Federation has put together 2.5 billion naira as prize money for the 2019 World Athletics Championships taking place in Doha, Qatar. The federation says athletes who set new records in individual events will get 35 million naira offered by TDK and Qatar National Bank. TDK's involvement with the IAAF World Championships goes beyond the World Record Program, as the Japanese electronics company has been the main sponsor for men's events for all 16 previous editions and will maintain that involvement in Doha. Qatar National Bank, which joined the IAAF as partner last year, will offer the same generous sponsorship package for women's events at the World Championships. And more than 600 players will compete for honors at the 23rd edition of the Margarine Cup, which will take place later this month at Ikoyi Club. The organizing committee says this event will commemorate Nigeria's independence. More than 75 prizes will be won by different categories of competitors, with a special gala event rounding off the program on October the 1st. That is CNN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.